Hello everybody, it's Jayma Malme, and today I'm going to create a 2-page scrapbook layout with these 4 photos. And if you notice, these photos have all sorts of colors going on. We've got some reds and blues both in these photos, but then these photos we've got orange and turquoise, and it's all over the board. But how cute is my son with his tool obsession? He wanted to be just like daddy, so he's got his toolbox and his drill here. Oh my gosh, I love this picture. I almost did just a 1-page layout of just this photo, but I had some others to tell his story, so I decided to make it a 2-page spread with a story. This is when my husband and he made his little toolbox. And then this is him just working in the garage with daddy. So we'll talk a little bit more about these in a moment. But we've got all sorts of different colors. So we're going to talk about how to choose paper colors for your layout when you have a bunch of different colors going on. So right away, I knew that I wanted to use some of these tools from this SVG set. This is the digital art collection for the Hey Handsome collection. There's all sorts of, masculine themed stuff, and I did a layout with these ties and this Hey They're Handsome already. But I'm going to focus on these tools because obviously we've got tools in this layout. So I'll do a very brief Cricut tutorial on how to pull these in and size them appropriately for our layout. But first I want to talk about choosing paper. So when I looked at these photos, I thought, okay, which colors stand out the most? And with this photo off to the side, over here we've mostly got blues and reds, maybe a little bit of gray. So I think we can pull in some colors that will tie all of these in. This photo actually has the navy blue here, even though there's a lot of orange, which is definitely clashing with the red. So I definitely want to bring in the navy blue, even though there's none in here. Navy blue is kind of a neutral, and I think that that will work across the board. And then we've also got some wood. So we've got the wood grains back here, obviously in the wood and back there, and then in the wood floor here. So I think wood grains will work too. And I might be able to pull in a little bit of red. So my first thought is that I could pull in this Hello Darlin collection. And I thought maybe this striped paper here could work because we've got a lot of navy and then we've got just a little bit of red. And my thought is to have just like a few strips of paper in 3 different patterns going across and then having my photos like that. That is one of my go-to like kind of design sketches. When I have 4 portrait orientation photos, I just think it looks so nice. You get to show off 3 papers and then just have your photos in a row here. So I'm gonna pull that in, and then we also want some navy, some more navy. So I'm thinking maybe if we pull in just a navy cardstock for the second one. And then I also have the Hey Handsome. This is one of the papers from the Hey Handsome collection, and that pulls in this gray in my husband's shirt, the gray in the cabinets back here, and it's a nice neutral. So I'm gonna kind of see how that is looking. And then let's see how it looks over here. And you know what? I just don't like the red with this photo here. So I'm thinking maybe not even pull in the red at all. And what if I pull in, see, I think this might look good here. What if I pull in this wood grain? This is from a really old paper collection. It's this Rustic Home Fundamentals. Guy, it's years old, but I had some wood grains in here, and I think that could work. I think the craft that it's on works well with this. And I'll have my photos matted because I don't want this wood on wood. That's gonna kind of drown it out. And I could kind of move these around and see what order I want them. I think I liked the brown in the middle. But I'm not sure about just this plain cardstock. I might try to pull in a pattern. Actually, you know what? I have some mix-in papers. Okay, so I found this tone-on-tone sapphire, and I think I might like that better. It just adds a little bit more interest. I didn't want to bring in more colors, but I wanted a subtle pattern, and I think that is gonna work. So every catalog close to my heart has a mix-in collection, and usually they're like tone on tone, like mostly a color with either white or a lighter color of that. And so what I've done when I have those mix-in collections left over from a catalog, I put them all together in rainbow order. So this is all my colors. I've got the reds and yellows. So I just went back to blue and I found the blues, and I found a sapphire one that would work. I've got a bag like this with colored mix-ins and a bag like this with my neutral mix-ins. So just thought I'd show you how I store those. Of course, the goal is always to use them up, but I found that I'll use what I have left over more if I have them organized like that. Okay, so I think I'm liking this color combo here, and then maybe I could bring in a little bit of red accents in like dots or maybe little stickers. There might be little things on here. Maybe not. Maybe the Good Life. That might be a little too much red. There's a lot of flowers on here. I don't want flowers. I could maybe bring some in the Cricut cuts, but I think I might keep those neutral too. So now that I've got my colors chosen, I think I'm just gonna do a white background. I think that will look good. And then I'll matte my photos, of course. I'll probably do a double matte like I usually do. And I think I'm gonna like that. So let's go over to the Cricut and cut the tools. Now I have the basic foundation of my layout here. So I want to be able to see what my layout's going to look like with the photo placements here and these strips that I talked about, so that I know how big to make those tools. So I'm going to go over here to images, and if you're not at this screen already, you're just going to go up. You might get to this screen first. You're going to go here to browse all images, and if you have purchased the Hey Handsome digital collection, you will go here to upload it because it was an SVG file that you need to upload. And now this was the last set that I uploaded, so they're all here at the top. So I've got the wrench here. I have a screwdriver, a saw, pliers. I don't think I want the paintbrush. I do want the hammer. Let's see if there's anything else. No, that's it. Another thing you can do, if it wasn't the last thing that you uploaded, hopefully when you uploaded your SVG, you tagged it or named it. So I have all mine tagged and named by Hey Handsome. So when I search that, it pulls up just my Hey Handsome collection. And to learn how to do that and how to upload your SVGs, I have a whole video on how to do that I will link down in the description below. So now that we have those selected, we will go down here and hit Add to Canvas. So once those are loaded, they're all grouped together. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them down here and click away from them so they're separate. And each item is grouped individually. So this, if you go over here, you can see is actually two images. There's two colors, so there's these two images, and they are already grouped for you. So each item comes together as one grouping, even though it's several cuts. So like the hammer has these 4 different cuts that you see over here. So I know I want to use the hammer, so I'm going to size it the way I think I want it. And I don't know exactly, maybe I want it a little smaller. I don't know exactly how I'm going to have these, but I just want to make sure that they're sized well. And actually the way that they came in, the size that they came in is pretty close. I think I want the hammer a little bigger now again, actually, because in real life it's going to be bigger than the wrench. And maybe the wrench should be a little smaller. So just because I'm arranging them like this here on the screen doesn't mean that's how I actually have to arrange them on paper. I'm just trying to get a feel for how big I want them. Definitely not that big. And then when this is selected, I'm just kind of coming out. I'm not clicking anything, I'm just coming out, and that gives me this rotate arrow. See how it's curved? And then you can kind of turn these. So I'm thinking I'm gonna want them in little groupings. Now the saw, that's gonna be a lot bigger than these other items, but I don't really want it too big. I might have that kind of coming across like this. And I'll probably have it behind the screwdriver because it's covering a lot of the screwdriver like this. But if I bring the screwdriver to the front, I can come up here to arrange, bring to front just to see what it'll look like. And then I'm not hiding that detail, and I'm not hiding much on the saw if I'm covering the saw. So I'm gonna bring in the pliers. I think the sizes that they come into the screen are pretty good. I think I'm gonna have this kind of, we'll have to see. I don't want it to cover too much of my photo. I think I have a little room. Maybe I could have it come more up here. We'll have to see. I'll have to play with it when it's on my layout. I'm gonna make the saw a little bigger because it would be a lot bigger in real life, and I think I've got the room for it here. But I think I'll change this orange to red because I don't have that paprika color in my layout. I've got the red color, so I think I'll change that to red. Maybe instead of the red, I might actually make that the gray. Let's see what that looks like. So the nice thing about doing it on the screen first is you can kind of see what it's gonna look like. I don't know. I might cut it in a couple different colors and we'll see. But for now, I like the sizes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut, and then we'll play with it on the page. Okay, so I put all my little Cricut pieces in here. I ended up cutting a title as well. Let's put that aside and get these roughly in the spots that I wanted them. So I cut these strips to 1 3/4 by 11.5. So here we've got our saw. I had the wrench over here and the hammer over here. And then I've got the screwdriver here and the pliers here. So we'll see how I end up liking all that. So I did a little bit of treatment on these. If you look closely, there's a little bit of inking around the edges. So I inked around the edges of all of my Cricut cuts. I like doing that to Cricut cuts because it gives them a little bit more visual interest and dimension. And I recently watched my friend Janice, who did these same tools and did a really cool technique with a very small brush to give it very intense highlights and dark points. It looks really cool. I'll link to her video down in the description below because she did a great job of that. So I've already matted my my photos on white, and I wanted to have a second matte. I tried out gray in my Cricut file because that's what I was thinking of doing. I was thinking of using this same pattern. So I cut one to try that out, and I'm kind of thinking it's just too much pattern. I'm gonna try just the charcoal. All right, so I've cut a charcoal piece, and we'll try that. And I like that better. So it does pop off the background a little bit better. It works with this, but it's not too much pattern. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is ink around the edges of all of these pieces and my photo mats, just like I did my little tools. So let me show you how I did that. I'm gonna put some scratch paper here, and then I pulled out Sapphire, Toffee, and Pewter. So Pewter and Toffee are what I use to ink my tools. Even on the dark grays, I use Pewter. On the light grays, all the grays, and then on the brown, I used Toffee. And I didn't want it to be a super dark, you know, outline, but I wanted it to show. So that's what I did on the brown. So let's pull in the Pewter. You could just ink around with a regular, you know, foam tool and give it just a little bit of inking, but I just decided to do it this way just for fun. You can, you know, there's so many ways that you can ink around the edges. I just thought I would do this so that it would kind of match what I did with the tools. And no matter what you do, it just gives a nice little, you know, just a little bit of extra something to add to the visual texture and interest of your papers. So I think that that looks really good. So I'm going to cut some more mats and do that. And I'm going to do the same thing on all of these pieces. So the gray, I'm going to take my Pewter and just go around the edge and give it that little bit of dimension. So see how already right here it's popping a little more than in the middle. So it is going to dry back to be a little bit lighter, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to go around all the way around all of them, and then if I want it darker I can always go back, but I think that's going to be enough. So I'll go ahead and do all the pieces and then we'll come back. Now I have everything in place. It's not glued down yet, but I have this stamp set here. This is the background elements. I love these background sets, and I'm thinking that this splatter here, I'm going to stamp in some of the corners for a controlled splatter look. But before I do that, I want to look for some embellishments. Now, I recently created these embellishment books, and I was thinking, I've recorded some of the process, and I'm thinking of showing how I did this. So let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested. But I went through all of my old embellishments and put them in this binder by color. And so I can easily see what I have. I don't do this with my current embellishments, but if I just have a little bit left from a pack. So I've got the Sapphire here, and thinking I'll just pull out some of the ones that might work. This might be too big, but I really like this "You're My Favorite Dude," so I could always like cut it somehow. And then maybe this little tab could have the date. And I'm going to go through all the pages and grab the stars and little hearts and little things that I'm thinking that will work on this page. So I end up using quite a few of them, and whatever I don't use, I can just put right back onto these little sticky pages. So this little adorable is going to be perfect. I think that can fit somewhere. And there's this little blank spot over this photo, and I think that's going to be perfect. The nice thing about having these embellishments in that photo book is I've already cut out around them, so I can just kind of place them around the page. That one definitely needs to be cut down. And now I think that's much better. I just cut around and backed it in some Sapphire cardstock, and then I inked around the edge of that cardstock too so it would match the rest. This little tab that the date's gonna go on, I think might go with some little banners up there in the corner. I grabbed a couple of the patterns that I used on this page, and I'm just gonna cut them into little banner shapes, and then when I'm ready to adhere them, I'll trim them down to the size that I want. I'll just leave them here for now. By the way, the font that I used for the title is the same font that I used on the toolbox that he's holding. That's just vinyl that I cut on my Cricut that's on the toolbox, and it's called Extreme Fonts Little League. I thought it was a fun title, and this Tool Time title is actually the same title that Janice used on her layout, and I thought it was so perfect, so I borrowed that for my layout as well. Now I'm ready to do my stamping, and I'm thinking the Toffee is going to be nice because I've got my embellishments in the Sapphire, and the Toffee is going to be a nice contrast to that. So like I said, I didn't glue anything down yet because I knew I'd be doing some stamping, and so I think I'm going to have one there and then one kind of up in the other corner of that embellishment cluster. And that looks good to me. I want to create a visual triangle with the stamping, so I'm going to add another one over here on this side. I think just one looks good there. And then I want one a little bit toward the bottom to create that visual triangle. So let me straighten these out and kind of figure out where that's going to go. I think down here is the best spot where it'll show up, because if I do it in the embellishment clusters, it's not really going to show up. I really like how this is looking, and I love how all of this is just perfectly complementing these photos of my son and my husband. My son loves being a helper. He's such a good helper and always wanted to be involved when my husband is woodworking, still does, and my husband does a great job of trying to involve him whenever he can. I got everything glued down, and here's a closer look at how it turned out. I ended up adding a few little red accents, and I think it was just the perfect touch. I added those tools on some foam dimension as well as the title, and I just love this page. It is so much fun. If you want to see still shots, I have those on Instagram and Facebook, which are linked down below, and anything that's still available that I used, I have linked below, including this digital collection. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and here's another video on screen that I think you might enjoy. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.